Hello guys, welcome once again to Ahmed and Maseno. I'm going to talk about something very dear to my heart. It is my humble appeal to the African continent. And this is about the chairmanship of the African Union Secretariat and why Raila Amo Odinga has no capacity, has no capability, and can never become a brand ambassador of the continent Africa to the world. What I mean is, Raila has know what it takes to be the chairman of African Union Secretariat. African Union has laid down criteria which is to be applied in selecting who sits as the chairman of the Secretariat. And apart from those criteria they have laid down, the office holder, in my humble view, must, and I repeat must, number one, must be a unifying factor and not a dividing factor. Number two, that man or woman must be a Democrat. Number three, must be a selfless leader and not a selfish one. Number four, that leader must be truthful, someone who is fair and justified. According to the secretariats, we are told that this time around, the chairmanship or the person to hold that office must come from East Africa. I don't have any issue with that. But what I have issue with is that is Raila Amo Odinga that person? From East Africa, we have the candidate from Kenya, Raila Amo Odinga, has no quality whatsoever to make him fit to sit as a chairman of the Secretariat. Raila has no unifying factor, but instead, he is a dividing factor. In fact, Raila himself is a division. Why do I say all that? Let's look at Kenya presently, the Kenya today, where a deputy president has just been impeached by both houses of parliament on some very flimsy excuses. And a lower house of parliament speaker is also about to be impeached. Plans are on. All these are brought by one man, Raila Amo Odinga. Around this time last year, the whole world was made to believe that the Kenya Kwanza government, from its head, the president, the deputy president, cabinet secretaries, were corrupt and they were in office illegally. We were told of how President Ruto is a murderer. We were told of how President Ruto stole votes. We were told how President Ruto has stolen public resources, lands, public money. Kenyans went on the street, led by Raila Odinga, to go against the government that stole votes. What changed today? What changed? That same president is clean today. What happened to the public resources he stole? What happened to people he killed? What happened to lands he grabbed? What happened to all of that to make him clean today? How comes today it is only the deputy president who is corrupt? How comes it is only the deputy president who is a tribalist. How come? My question is, at what point did Ruto become clean in the eyes of Raila Odinga and the opposition? At what point did President William Ruto become clean in the eyes of Raila Odinga? And what happened to the things we were told he took away from the people? We were told of public lands like schools, airport land, where Weston Hotel sits. We were told about Aurora and Kamerere Dam, which stalled because the deputy president then, who is the president today, stole all the money meant for those developments. We were told of how Ruto killed innocent children and women in church. All of this we were told by Raila Odinga. What changed? Did those burnt women and children, did they come back? What happened? What really happened to the money which was supposed to be used to construct Aurora and Kamerere dams? If Ruto is clean today, then what happened to the money? We need to know, because the money went somewhere. But Ruto today is clean. He never stole it. So what happened to that money? What happened to Weston Hotel, which sits in a public land, a public airport land? What happened to it? Let me take Africa back memory lane so that they understand very well what I'm talking about. Because last time I saw East African presidents and heads of states came to Kenya and to State House to eat cheap ugali as if in their countries there are no foods, to drum support for one candidate, while they know very well that East Africa has two candidates. They came to drum support for Raila Odinga, praising him that he's a nationalist, pan-Africanist, a Democrat, or one who has fought for the rights of Kenyans. And today we want to look at those rights and the questionable characters who came to State House, those who called themselves presidents from East Africa. That's why I'm taking Africa back in memory lane to know who really Raila is. Leading to the year 2002 general elections, Raila divided the party KANU. He joined KANU. His main aim was for the president then, late retired President Moi. His main aim was for Moi to name him as his successor. That was Raila's aim. But when President Moi bypassed him and named Uhuru Kenyatta as his successor instead of Raila, Raila divided KANU into pieces. He went further and said Kibaki tosha, supported Kibaki to win over President Moi's choice. Ironically, that is the only year in Kenya that election was peaceful and there was no post-election violence, because the person who always brings post-election violence was on the winning side. That is Raa Amo Odinga. He was with Kibaki and Kibaki won. And the loser, who was Uhuru Kenyatta, conceded defeat and went ahead to be the country's opposition leader. But inside government, and not satisfied, just like his father before him, Raila started fighting the government that he helped to form. Why? Why was he fighting this government he helped to form, just like his father in 1960s? Because many personalities were outsmarting him. Many personalities were outstarring him. And the law of Raila is that he doesn't want anyone to outstar him. He wants to be the star every day, every time, the center of action. To Raila, he thought he owned Kibaki and that Kibaki owed him. Literally, he expected, after saying Kibaki tosha, he expected Kibaki to worship him. He expected Kibaki to give him the vice president position. But even after the suspicious death of the vice president then, Michael Kijana Wamalo, Kibaki still bypassed him and settled on his junior, Mudi Awori. Then came the year 2007 general elections that almost dragged Kenya to its knees. For record, that is the period when our now cleaner than angel president supposedly burnt innocent children and women in church in Rift Valley. In that year, the Kibaki who was tosha was no longer tosha anymore in the eyes of Raila. Raila went ahead and refused to concede the electoral defeat, but agreed to a power-sharing deal, a power split, with a simple reasoning that he was caring about the people who are dying, that he never wanted those deaths, then he was stopping it. But no, that was not the reason. In fact, the life of Kenyans means nothing to Raila. The blood of Kenyans means nothing to Raila, and it will never mean anything to him and his family. Those 5 years of what they call Nusumkati, half-bred government, was the most horrible years in the life of Kenyans. But all in all, instead of concentrating on building bridges, Raila concentrated much of his time during all those 5 years fighting for his interests or personal things that affects him as a person, not as a country. Top of the agenda was the cry that he needed a VIP toilet everywhere he went. It was like Raila's poo needed a VIP toilet. His poo could not fit in public toilets which are there where he was going. If he goes to a school for a government function, the latrine the schools are using could not contain Raila's poo. He needed a VIP toilet everywhere he goes. It is on record. He always fought between him and the vice president then, Kalonzo Musyoka, who was the senior amongst the two of them. He complained why Kalonzo would be called His Excellency, while himself is being called Right Honorable. He complained between him and the vice president who should lead the government business in parliament. He complained about who between him and the vice president should talk last and invite the president. In other words, Raila did 5 good years in government fighting battles about his selfish interest, battle concerning him, not battles concerning the people. But towards the end of this period, something really happened that people did not really understand. But only wise people can understand it. It was a period of elimination of political competition. Kibaki was already on his way going. So the remaining competitors of Raila were his deputy prime minister, Uhuru Kenyatta, who was also the finance minister, a cabinet minister under him, who was also upcoming king of Rift Valley politics, William Ruto, internal security minister, George Saitoti, who was believed to be a unifying factor between the Rift Valley and the mountain, because other people said that he was having Kikuyu blood and at the same time Maasai blood. Another one was the vice president then, Kalonzo Musyoka, and the second deputy prime minister, Musalia Mudavadi. The first one to be eliminated was George Saitoti. And when George Saitoti was eliminated, there were many theories from politicians' mouths. The first theory was that as the interior minister, or internal security minister, as it was called then, was about to expose a drug cartel. So it was concluded that it was the drug lords who silenced him. The second theory was that, and this theory was coming from the ODM side of government, that it was Uhuru Kenyatta's Kiambu loyalists who silenced the good professor to eliminate his Kikuyu factor, or the Kikuyu factor in him, to give Uhuru Kenyatta total control of the mountain. That was the second theory. But there were other theories that nobody tried to look into. And today I'm going to give you one of those other theories that nobody wanted to look into. And this is associated with Saitoti's assistant minister, Raa Ojode. Saitoti's assistant, Mr. Raa Ojode, who was to be Saitoti's host at the Homa Bay function where they were to be before they were burnt on air, was supposed to have traveled in advance so that the visitors would find him in Homa Bay. But my question is, what made Ojode not to travel in advance? That is the good question. What made him not to travel in advance as planned? Or let me rephrase the question. Who made Ojode not to travel in advance? And another question, the second question, what is the importance of Ojode's death besides his boss to the perpetrators? And my line of thought for an answer, yani a tip, is what a clean reason to be absolved from guilt when you kill your enemy with your son together. You kill your enemy with your son together. You will be consoled rather than being accused. Raila's side of the coalition was being consoled instead of being accused. Only a sober investigative agent would look into the fact that you didn't like your son anyways, or you weren't in good terms with that your son who died alongside your enemy. Food for thought. But after the elimination of George Saitoti, Uhuru and Ruto were to be eliminated through ICC. The confused Vice President Kalonzo was to be offered a running mate position as an elimination. As for Mudavadi, use divide and rule method to scuttle Luhya land. For him, you divide Luhya land and Mudavadi has nothing. He has been eliminated. Raila remained the star of the day. He remained the star of the day. And with a constitution that he championed, which he had already eliminated the official opposition in parliament, he was good to go. He becomes the president with no official opposition in parliament. He was gearing to be the dictatorial president Kenya have never seen. But sorrowfully, it left the country divided, mostly the mountain and the Rift Valley communities, adding to the century-long rift between the mountain and the lake region, which has made the Luo and the Kikuyu pitting each other every time there is an election, going to each other's throats in the name of our tribe, our tribe. The two communities that are being united by chance. When Raila says Kibaki Tosha, they are united. When he says the mountain have given us many presidents, they are divided. But somehow, the two ICC condemned came to power over Raila. And with that, uniting their two divided communities. Raila was not happy. He led other Kenyans to go against the Kikuyu and the Kalenjin communities. Many Kenyans lost their lives during Raila's protests against Uhuru and Ruto government. Properties were destroyed, both public and private properties. But again, somehow, Uhuru Kenyatta, who supposedly owned half of Kenya, or Uhuru Kenyatta, who comes from a family that Raila says owns half of Kenya. Uhuru Kenyatta, who Raila said was a murderer, was a butcher during the post-election skirmishes in 2007 through Mungiki. That's what Raila says. Uhuru Kenyatta, who Raila said stashed public funds. But ironically, William Ruto, the deputy president, remained as dirty as the devil itself. People really wondered how the deputy president could be the remaining corrupt one. According to our constitution, there are no defined role of the deputy president, apart from waiting there if anything can happen to the president. He has no roles. The buck stops with the president. So how could the president be clean and his deputy remains dirty? That was the question. Raila Odinga made sure that President Kenyatta and Deputy President Ruto never connected in anything. In fact, they could not even see eye to eye. That Raila made sure of. He brought bad blood between the two. But the truth is, Raila couldn't rule the president and the deputy president at the same time. He had to divide them, to rule them. During his union with Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga did all what he was campaigning against. He used public resources to campaign, to do whatever private things he was doing because he was not a public servant. He watched over a grand corruption being carried out in government and he kept quiet. He watched as government officials and agencies misused funds meant for HIV, AIDS. He watched as the government agencies stole from funds meant for the corona patients. He watched as our country was being auctioned, and he was just quiet there. Raila's office was illegally allocated 4 million Kenya shillings every day for campaigns by the government for more than 2 years. Raila introduced projects which squandered public resources but which were never beneficial to the public, like the BBI. Raila watched as the government entered into more international debts for our country, something that the people disapproved. And with no infrastructures to show for it, President Uhuru became his brother and a darling just because he thought President Uhuru would by all means, even against the law, hand over power to him when he retires. But on the other hand, Ruto remained dirty, who had amassed wealth of unmeasured amount from the public coffers, as far behind as from President Moi's regime. Ruto had grabbed public lands, including the airport land where Weston Hotel sits, public schools. That President Ruto had grabbed public lands from Mombasa to Taita Taveta to Nairobi, all the way to Rift Valley. This time is when we were reminded by Raila Odinga that it was Ruto who burnt innocent children and women who sought refuge in a church in Rift Valley. This was being done so that Ruto could not ascend to power. But again, somehow, Ruto got saved by the Kikuyu community, who rejected a wise counsel from one of their own and supported Ruto. As from the 9th of August 2022, after the elections, Raila went on protesting against Ruto's win. He failed to recognize Ruto. He failed to recognize Ruto's government too. He went on a rampage that made people to die again and properties to be destroyed, both private and public. And yes, things were going terribly wrong, which even brought our young sons and daughters, the Gen Zs, to the streets to protest. But Raila betrayed them. The real truth is that Raila could not stomach the fact that the Gen Zs were doing things right, something he has done all his life but never succeeded. The Gen Zs were about to succeed. That is when he took the advantage, because he is always against people who are outshining him. The Gen Zs were just about to outshine Raila. They were about to beat Raila at his game. Raila took the advantage and went behind the Gen Zs, entered into a negotiation with the man he didn't like, with the president he didn't recognize, with the government he didn't recognize. He won 5 cabinet slots, and he never appointed even one Gen Z. He also won support from the government to be the next chairman of the African Union. When Raila brought the scumbags who broke in parliament, who infiltrated the ranks of the peaceful protesting Gen Zs, who could not hurt a fly, when people are asking the government about the so-called ununiformed policemen who killed our Gen Zs, on my part, I think we should ask ODM and Raila, because it is not a coincidence that it was that day that many of our children were killed, and Raila went into negotiation with the government he never recognized. Raila should answer that. Who were those ununiformed people who killed the Gen Zs? But the most ironical thing is, as Raila sanitized the current president, Ruto, of all the wrongdoings, ironically, Ruto's deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, is the dirty one today, is the corrupt one today, is the tribalist today. My question is, how comes it is only the deputy presidents who are becoming dirty? When they become president, they are becoming clean in the eyes of Raila. What kind of justice is that? What kind of law court is that? Now, if Ruto is clean today, then Raila should tell us what happened to those children who were killed in the church, who he said was killed by Ruto. If Ruto is clean today, then Raila should tell us where the Aurora and Kamarer Dam funds went to. If Ruto is clean today, then Raila should tell us Weston Hotel is sitting on a public land or not. All those accusations Raila leveled against Ruto that time, which today he has absolved Ruto from, he should tell us what happened to those. He should. So before Raila is transferred to Africa, he must answer the questions in our country first. So those presidents who came to Kenya to sanitize him, to tell us how he's a statesman, to tell us how he's a Pan-Africanist, to tell us how he's a Democrat, to tell us how he's a freedom fighter, should tell us that who gave Raila the authority to accuse. You accuse one of doing this and tomorrow he's clean of that. It's like he is the supreme judge of Kenya. My question is again, how can every president becomes clean when they are deputy president, they are dirty? When they become president, they are clean and then their deputies become dirty. That's the question. Let me take you a little bit back. Just a little bit. After 1997 general election, Raila Odinga fooled both the KANU government and the Luo community and taken over the Kisumu molasses plant. That is in the period between 1998 and 2002, during the KANU and LDP merger or cooperation. Raila asked Moi to help in the economic empowerment of the Luo community by transferring the ownership of the Kisumu molasses plant from a public entity to a holding company owned by the tribe, the Luo. The plant was a government project under the able stewardship of the late cabinet minister, Robert Ouko, to produce spirit and ethanol using molasses from the sugar belt companies in the western region. It was strategically located at the Kisumu-Busia highway. While President Moi thought that he was empowering the Luo community by transferring the company to a holding company which Moi believed was owned by the Luo community, Raila had other ideas up his sleeves about the molasses plant. Raila went to the community and told the community to contribute and buy the plant from the government. They said that 200 million was collected, but the actual amount of money that was collected was 427 million Kenya shillings. What Moi did not know was the company he was transferring ownership to was not a Luo thing. It was the Odinga's thing. The company belonged to the Odingas. It never belonged to the Luo. So Raila fooled the Luo community to buy a company. And that company, go and look at it. If it belongs to the Luo community, it belongs to the Odingas.
So guys, in other words, between the year 1997 and 2002, when Raila had this cooperation thing with former President Moi, he asked the Luo community to buy Kisumu molasses plant. That plant is never for the Luo community. It is for the Odingas. If the community trusted him and he betrayed them, what do you think about that type of man? The only mistake the Luo people did was that they did not sign anything. They trusted him. It's just like what we are hearing now. Everybody signed with Ruto, the company they were sharing, but only Rigathi Gachagua is the one who did not sign because he trusted Ruto. That's how the Luo community trusted Raila, and he betrayed them. He took everything. I want to give you another example. During the Jubilee government, before Raila got into handshake with his brother Uhuru Kenyatta, President Uhuru Kenyatta, there was this countrywide protests by teachers. They went on a mgomo to protest for their salary increments. I remember Raila asked the whole country to donate so that we can pay teachers. Millions of shillings were raised, but those teachers were never paid those money. Do you know what Raila did? He had to buy teachers. He had to bribe them. Do you know how he bribed them? He nominated to parliament the Secretary General of Teachers Union, NAT. He used a nomination slot that is always for special groups to bribe teachers, to silence teachers. Mr. Wilson Sosion's nomination to parliament by ODM, by Raila, was a bribe to teachers' body, teachers' union, so that they don't ask questions about the millions donated for them. Raila pocketed everything. Go outside there and ask even one teacher who was paid that money. That is the Pan-Africanist, the nationalist. In 2017, after he had refused to concede defeat, he moved to Supreme Court to contest the election of that year. And good for him, the Supreme Court overturned the result of that election and declared it null and void. They therefore ordered for a repeat of the presidential vote. Raila did not go for the rerun. He did not go for the repeat. That's what he wanted. That was the reason for the courts. But he wanted the courts to declare him the winner. According to the law, the courts cannot declare him the winner. So he did not. Do you know the reason why? He said that he cannot go to the elections with the sitting president as Uhuru Kenyatta and a sitting IEBC chairman as Chebukati. But to shock you, in 2022, Raila went to election with the sitting president as Uhuru Kenyatta and the sitting chairman of IBC as Chebukati. So why did he refuse to go for a rerun in 2017? Food for thought. At the same time, Kenyans contributed for him to go for that rerun that he boycotted. A lot of money. Ethics. He lacks it. In the same 2017, after he refused to go for the rerun election, Raila went to Uhuru Park and sworn in himself as the people's president. The question I've always been asking, why did he go to court in the first place to nullify the election results? Because when the election results were nullified, that results was not usable anywhere again after it had come out of court as nullified. It was not usable. That's why Uhuru Kenyatta, who won, went back for a re-election. But Raila refused. Now, when he was going to swear in himself at Uhuru Park, which result was he using? That is where. And you saw him with lawyers. Those lawyers who are telling us that they are senior lawyers, big lawyers. Some of them are being floated to be our speakers tomorrow. They were there. Election which has been overturned on your own request. You requested the election results to be nullified, and they were nullified. You refused to go back for the rerun election. In what grounds are you swearing in yourself? That's the question I want people like Otiende Amolo to answer. People like they call themselves TJ Kajwang. People like Miguna. They should answer those questions. Which results were they using? Because the one which was nullified cannot be used again in anywhere. It was nullified by the courts unless they were proving to be above the law, above the court, above the Supreme Court that nullified that election. So if these people are above the law, then they have no business leading, not only in this country, not only in this continent. They have no business leading even our community where they think they are the bosses. They have no business. Think about it yourselves. It would have been understood if Raila did not go to court. He just sit there and say that, no, I won. So he goes and do all sorts of sakara. People would understand. But he went to court. The election results were nullified by that same court he went to. He refused to go for a rerun, a re-election. He boycotts it. Then he goes to swear in himself as the people's president. Under what law? Under what law? And he was being surrounded by senior lawyers, people like Orengo, they were there. They called themselves senior counsels. Which of the results Raila used to swear in himself? The one he went to court and got nullified, or the one he boycotted? Because there were only two. There was one that he contested, took to court, and was nullified. That means it was not there anymore. And another one that he boycotted, Uhuru went on his own. So which one did Raila use to swear in himself? Which one? Let me take you back to 1982. So in 1982, our loyal forces, the army, the Kenya army, Raila infiltrated inside them, corrupted them, and they tried a coup on the government. I do not know the reason why. I don't want to talk about that reason. What I want to talk about is the people who died when they tried to stage that coup, and the young soldiers who were later tried and killed because of the treasonous act they tried. Many of those soldiers were Luos. The other day I heard Coveted talking about how Moi was forced to be a dictator, and people are forcing William Ruto to be a dictator today. Nobody is forcing William Ruto to be a dictator, and nobody forced Moi to be a dictator then. It is Raila who tried to stage a coup on him. The same Raila now you are supporting in your camp, Mr. Coveted, is the one who tried a coup on Moi. So if you have to cry for Raila, and he is on your side today. So I give you these points. This one person, Raa Amo Odinga, and his entire family has enslaved the Luo community from independence to date, more than 60 years. The only thing that family wants is to be the president of this country. But they cannot get it now. Is it by force? He has extended that enslavement from Luo land to the whole country. And now people like Ruto wants to extend it to the continent. If Luo land cannot be free, Kenya cannot be free, because Kenya to rule is to be with Raila. He knows when somebody is guilty and when somebody is innocent. He is the supreme judge in this country. Kenyans will never be at peace so long as Raila is still breathing. Now, tomorrow, after Raila shall have been elected by AU people to be the chairman of the AU, now we are waiting to see countries starting to fight. Because anything Raila wants, he will get. He will use all tactics to get it, whatever he wants. So long as you have delivered African Secretariat to his palms. Because Raila will find an opportunity to get whatever he wants, because whatever he wants is riches, affluence. That's what he wants. You act as a president here, you control, but you are not at the radar. You are not in the radar. People are not looking at you, but you are acting as the president here. You run the show, but you leave it to the people who are elected, but you are the one running the show. He gets away with corruption and shady deals because nobody will question him. People think that Raila is a nobody, but that guy is taking advantage of that to milk the government, to milk the authorities. The other time you heard about the impeachment of Deputy Governor Siaya, he was raising hell how money which are supposed to help the people are being transferred to Raila. But people refuse to listen because they think that side is the clean side. When the whole world, when Africa, when Kenya will know very well that the person they think is the clean person is not. In fact, some people have started blaming themselves for not electing Raila last time as the president. Today I want to tell Kenyans that was the worst thing you did. Afadhali Ruto 100 times than Raila. Afadhali 100 Rutos ruling us than only one Raila. Because today it would have not been what you are hearing. If Raila is capable of organizing maandamano and he is capable of stopping other maandamano, what do you think? What can defeat the police, the entire security system? Raila can stop it in 1 minute. What do you think? What do you think? Raila is dangerous, very dangerous. And that's why Africa can never allow Raila to sit as chairman at the secretariat. That's one big mistake Africa will do. And Africa should watch their presidents and head of states who will vote for Raila, because that will be an enemy of Africa. At the helm of African Union Summit Secretariat, we need a younger blood. We don't need an ancestor there. In fact, at that helm, we need someone who is below 35 years old. That is the person who can take this continent afar. You saw what happened when our leaders went for a burial. They were bundled on a bus like chicken that they are, and they agreed what they were going for was not something that's going to help us as Africa. If, for example, they were going for some aid, we would understand. They are going for aid to come and help the poor. But they were going for a burial, a dead person, to bury a dead person. They were bundled on a bus like chicken, and none of them uttered a word. That's how our continent is. That's how it is. I want to show you how when President Obama came to Kenya, it is called Thika Superhighway. When he was being driven on that road, a road which is busy 24 hours every day, was completely empty. Only his car was there. Only his car was traveling on that road. And then our presidents, all of them, put together in one bus to go and bury a dead person. And they agreed. Now, please, give us some break, please. We need a young blood at the Secretariat of AU. We cannot put Raila Odinga on that seat. Never. Africa, never. We are not going to start seeing our countries getting into war themselves, because Raila is good at that. He's good at divide and rule tactics. He will cause problems between the states to benefit personally, because that's what he's doing. If not, somebody ask him what he's doing in Kenya. What logic is it that a president is clean, the deputy is dirty? Tomorrow this deputy becomes the president and he becomes clean, and the deputy again becomes dirty. What is that? What is that now? Under the sun, there's nothing perfect. But this man wants to make himself the perfect one in the whole world. He's the only perfect one in the whole world. During elections, observers are coming from outside, but those observers always, he used to trash them. When Uhuru was elected, he trashed the observers. Then later he said Uhuru is good. It's only Ruto who was bad. The other day, he said the observers were trash because Ruto did not win. Today, Ruto is good. It's Gachagua who is bad. What kind of law is that? What kind of useless argument is that? My take is very straight, and this is to the African community. If the old guard are the problem in Africa, then the old guard must be out so that young blood can take over to shape our continent. We cannot sit pretty. You cannot go to England today and say that I'm a Kenyan, I'm an African, I have my dignity. When they saw your presidents being bundled on a bus and they said nothing, your presidents were in one bus, comfortable. If an accident occurs, the whole Africa loses all the presidents. They saw you as cuckoo, chicken. Our presidents were chicken and they never refused. What stopped them from boycotting that useless burial and come back home? What stopped them? Did the British stop them from coming back? No. They agreed to be chicken. They agreed to be taken as chicken. They agreed. And we are not going to allow that to happen. We are not going to allow that to happen to our continent. We want to leave this continent for our children, but we want to leave it when we have some dignity with it. Our children should be seen by other children from Europe, from Great Britain, from America, as people, not as chicken. When their leaders come here, we give them protection. When our leaders go there, they are bundled on a bus like chicken. What is that? What's that? They are rushing to take a picture with one white man. One white man. All of them, all presidents, with only one white man. With the president of America, or with the king of England, or with the prime minister of where. What's that? Have your dignity. And that's why I'm saying the president of East Africa who came to Nairobi to rub it on our faces that Raila is a Pan-Africanist, is a nationalist, is a Democrat. To hell with you. Because first I want to sympathize with the people from my brothers from Uganda. You are waiting to vote Museveni out. How? How will you vote him out? He is shaping his son, his spoiled brat son, to lead over you after him. I'm a Muslim, but the Bible you read says, by the sword he took it, by the sword he will be removed. That is it, Uganda. But if you sleep, you are Pearl of Africa. What Pearl of Africa? You are the dustbin of Africa. There's no pearl in it. What pearl of Africa? You are the dustbin of Africa. How can in this era somebody is leading you like that and somebody is shaping his son to take over and you are watching a pearl of Africa? In Kenya we use democracy and election and it works. It works. And that is our tool. So we have the law that will remove Ruto. But first of all, Ruto and Raila must be here. Ruto is moving Raila, the problem of Kenya, to Africa. No, Africa should confine Raila here with Ruto. They said the monkey asked God to give him the long tail and it was given that long tail. So it must carry it. Ruto must remain with Raila here. You will not remove Raila, the problem of Kenya, to Africa. No. So that you remain here in Kenya and do whatever you want in peace. No. Create Raila and be with him here. So we see in 2027, because you are removing him out, so that 2027 you just be walk in the park. No way. Raila must remain here with you. That is the long tail you asked for. And that's the long tail you will carry. Raila must remain here in Kenya. He's going nowhere. He will remain here in Kenya with you up till 2027. So we see how your friendship will go. But remember one thing. That seat you are in was given to you by the people, not Raila. Remember what you told Uhuru sometimes back. That he has resorted to people who were against him. He forgot the people who helped him. The first sin is not repeating the mistake. It's the mistake now. Uhuru's was not a sin because he was doing it at the first time. Now you knew it and now you are repeating it. So now you are the one making the mistake. Raila will be with you here. Raila will be with you here till 2027. Then we will see how you will maneuver it. If you will reach that 2027, my friend. If you will reach that 2027, Raila will be with you here. So we see how your mathematics you have done. Because you think the Kikuyus are the stupid ones. They supported you, they left their son. Now, your people, they are the wise people. They are telling you, no, break away with the Kikuyu. Take the Luo community. And you think the Luo community will give you their vote? That's what you think. Think again. Think again. If their own son, they cannot go to the ballot, even 60%, their own son, they cannot go 60%. How many percentage do you think you will get, Ruto? Utalia chooni that day that it will come. Utalia chooni. Those who live in glass houses should not throw stones. Don't throw it, because you will smash your own house. That Gachagua that you have removed, that was your bet. In fact, it would have taken you to over 2027, up to 2032. African Union needs a young blood. Final. We have young blood around. But if it must be Kenya, and you don't want young blood, it must be from Kenya, it must be a Luo, then there's only one person in Luo land. Only one person. Professor Lumumba. That, if you give that to Africa, a Luo from Kenya, if it must be from Kenya, if that chairman must be from Luo land, Professor PLO Lumumba, that is the candidate. If you don't have Lumumba, forget about it, my friends. You think Africa is just, you can just put anybody there. This is our continent now. We want to make it work. It's our continent. We want to make it work. And you, our presidents and head of states, you are destroying it for us now. How can big people like you go to England and be bundled on a bus and you enter just like chicken? I wish you could see how chickens are being transported to the market. That's how you are being transported to a burial that will not help anything. A burial that will not even help the people who are bereaved themselves. If you are going for something that would help Africa, we would understand. Something that would help Africa, we would understand you. But a burial, oh, Africa, let's say no. And any president who is going to vote Raila to be the chairman, we will know who you are and we must go against you, because you shall have proved to be the enemy of Africa. Only enemies of Africa will vote Raila to be the chairman of AU. Only enemies of Africa. But if you love Africa, go back and find another person. We want somebody who is going to manage Africa. Someone who is going to market Africa. Can Raila market Africa? Can Raila market anything, leave alone Africa? Can he market anything? Can he market Kenya? Can he market Luoland? Leave alone Luoland. Can he market Siaya County where he's coming from? Can he market it? Raila can market nothing. So this is the person you are taking to Africa to market Africa. How can he market Africa? Someone who is good at dividing, how can he market? His good work is dividing. His good work is to destroy peace in a country. His good work is to see people dying. That is his good work. No, please. No. Otherwise, guys, I'm an African who has Africa at heart. And we have to stop our presidents and heads of state of dictating to us as Africans. That's why in Kenya, they say there is no rest in Kenya. Because Kenyans want to see a good Kenya tomorrow. That's why we want to take these leaders home. Ruto plus Raila and all of them. I'm not saying this because I think Rigathi Gachagua is good. No. But why Rigathi Gachagua and not Ruto? That's the question. The rotten egg is what is smelling, not the nest where the egg is. So you cannot take the nest and throw away and say the egg is okay. No. It's the egg which is smelling. The egg should be thrown out. Our African leaders should shape up. They should try to understand why other Africa countries have started having young leadership. And those young leadership are what we cry for. When parents are old, it's their children who are taking care of them. Thank you, guys. Thank you. This is Ahmed and Maseno. It's a new channel, but a new channel that is going far. So please subscribe to it, like it, share, and comment. Any comment, negative, positive, you are against me, you are not. For example, I know I'm going to get a lot of mchapo beatings from members of my tribe because they were whipped not to defy Raila. But I'm not among them. I was never whipped not to defy Raila. I was whipped to defy evil. Evil, I defy it. Whether it is my father who is doing it, I will defy it. I defy evil. So where that evil comes from, I am not there. I voted for Uhuru Kenyatta. When he brought Raila, I defied him. But still, he's a great guy to me. He's a great guy. I voted for William Ruto. But now that he's on the wrong track, I'm defying him again. I will defy anyone. So long as you are evil, I will defy you. So I cannot be whipped to defy as some people want. No, just as I want me myself. And that is not making me the best. No, I'm also a human being under the sun. And they said under the sun, there's nothing perfect. Am I not under the sun too? Right, guys, see you. Find this channel and watch it. Bye.